Happy Friday to you. Welcome to Fire Friday. I am Natasha Bryant, licensed mental health professional. I am your mental health professional expert. I'm a confidence mindset coach, the owner of Speak Like Transformation, located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I'm here to help you make some mindset shifts. If you're watching on LinkedIn, welcome to my YouTube subscribers. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Speak Like Transformation TV. Subscribe, hit the notification button so you know when I go live, and check out the previous episodes of Fire Friday. I started this in January, so there are tons of videos for you to watch. Also, there's some shorts that give you some tips. I started a new series called The Execution Edit, so check those out as well. The Speak Like Transformation TV channel is a whole vibe, especially if you're looking to learn how to manage your mental health, how to engage in more healthy habits, how to recognize what habits are working and not working for you, all the things mental wellness education, mental health education is what Speak Like Transformation TV is all about. So check it out, hit subscribe, hit the notification button, share any of the videos that you see, like them as well. Let's get right into today's discussion. I'm excited about this discussion because this is a topic that many people often find themselves struggling with, which is decision making. This is a topic that many people find it can be difficult to make decisions. They usually try to stay in the background, let other people make the decisions. They feel this sense of heaviness about making the right decision, and this overwhelm regarding that. And so decision making can cause lots of anxiety, a lot of overthinking, a lot of procrastination, hesitation. And we're going to be talking about a lot of those things and how to really get past that so you can actually confidently make a decision where you trust that you can make the best decision for you. So today is all about how to make decisions with confidence, getting rid of the, is this the right? Maybe I need to get some reassurance first. Let me just confirm to make sure it's right before I make the decision. We're going to stop all of that today. So I want you to think about, right, when it comes to decision and indecision is a decision. Some people feel like, well, if I don't make a decision at all, then I'm not making a decision. No, you are making a decision. You're making a decision to not decide. You're making a decision to not have your voice heard. You're making a decision to not be a part of the decision-making process. So that is a decision, right? And because of that, because you're choosing to withdraw, because you're choosing to play small, it's costing you momentum. Indecision leads to you playing small. Indecision leads you to removing yourself from the decision-making process, which then causes the momentum you need to actually execute. This is a normal response for smart, capable women, right? Because a lot of times what's happening is like women, like smart, capable individuals, sometimes they're too smart. You're like, the saying, you're smart for your own good. You're too smart for your own good. Yeah. One of the statements my grandma would always say is, after I made a decision or did not make a decision, and it ended up not being the best decision, she would ask me, well, what made you do that? I was like, well, I thought. Stop thinking. That was the problem. You thought. You were thinking. That's the problem, right? Sometimes being smart is your detriment, right? Because you overthink the process. Because you're working so hard to make sure you make the decision that leads to success. Like, I cannot make a decision that does not lead to success. So that's the narrative you're saying to yourself. And therefore, it makes things way more complicated than it really needs to be. So let's talk about why decisions feel so hard. Why does decisions feel so hard? Well, one, fear of regret. Fear of regret is real, right? It's the fear of, I made a decision and I look back like, oh, dang, why did I even do that? Oh, I should have did this, right? And that fear ends up paralyzing you. The fear of like having to start all over, right? That's the regret. Like now you might have made a decision and end up not being the best or the right decision. And so you now have to start from scratch, right? Or start back at where you started. There is this fear of regret because there's this fear of disappointing others. Oh, I should have said it better this way, or I should have said this instead, and that wouldn't have disappointed the person. Regret can also, that fear of regret also connects to the feel of this things falling apart, right? Things not working out. And now you're like, oh, if I would have just did this, everything would have been fine. If I would have just made this decision, things would have worked out perfectly. Right. So that's one reason why decisions feel hard, because you're trying to prevent disappointment. You're trying to prevent regret. Another reason why decision making can feel hard, there's fear of visibility. We talked about this before. Check out a previous Fire Friday where we talked about visibility and how that really can block a lot of things as well. So the visibility is, I don't want to be seen, because if I'm seen, then I will be judged. It opens the door for people to judge me. The fear of visibility is connected to, if I end up being seen, then I'll have more expectations. Like people will expect more of me because they can see my capabilities. They see what I'm capable of and what I can do. And now they're going to want more from me. There's the other fear of visibility because there is this fear that I do my absolute best and then my efforts still aren't enough. I still fall short. And then people see me falling short. If I take this leadership role, if I take on this, if I make this decision and it doesn't work out, then that's going to be evidence that my efforts are not enough, that I am not enough. And all of that, right, can lead to, this like fight, flight, or freeze response. And that fight, flight, or freeze response results in decision fatigue, because your nervous system you get a nervous system overload, right? Where there's a lot of this angst and this worry about what is going to happen, and your nervous system starts to get activated and feel overloaded by this expectation to make the right decision, the perfect decision. And that overload happens because there's a lot of overthinking. How can I make sure I don't regret this? How can I make sure I don't, end up disappointing people, or I don't fail in front of people, or people won't judge me, right? And that overthinking then leads to you just avoiding the fears, the fear of visibility, the fear of regret, because you don't feel safe. You no longer feel safe. When your nervous system is activated, you're not feeling safe in that moment. And it's your body, your mind telling you, oh, danger zone. There's an emotional threat right now, or the emotional threat happening. And then your body goes in that fight, flight, or freeze. But a lot of times that emotional threat is a perceived threat, but it's being activated because the present moment is reminding you of a past situation that was actually traumatic and was an actual emotional threat and danger, right? And so that feeling of unsafe gets activated. That feeling of no longer feeling secure gets activated. And that safety insecure, that you start to feel unsafe, you start to feel insecure because you start to believe that you will not be able to handle any of those challenges that I talked about. The challenge of being judged, the challenge of disappointing other people, the challenge of things falling apart, right? Those outcomes feel so overwhelming, and it feels overwhelming because you don't feel like you're going to be able to handle it well, or you're not going to have the opportunity to be able to handle it. You're not going to have any more options. And that's what increases anxiety. That's what increases the overload of the overthinking. And then before you know, you're like, oh, not your brain's like, can't compute. And then you don't make any decision at all. Now, what happens a lot of times in that moment is then you just wait. You're like waiting. You're waiting for the perfect moment to make the decision. Waiting for all the I's to be dotted, all the T's to be crossed before you can make the decision, right? You're waiting for a sign. What is the sign that's going to let me know what decision I should make? What's going to guide me in the right direction so I know I make the right decision, right? Or the best decision. Or, the decision is like, I'll wait until I'm ready. When I know I have everything aligned, I have all the information, I have all the data, right? Then I have all the certifications, the training, whatever it is, right? Then that's when I'll make the decision, because that's when I will feel prepared, and that's when I will feel ready. And as you can see, all of that causes you to stall. There's you stall and you don't make any decision at all. And then sometimes that stall is not just for a few minutes, sometimes it's for days, weeks, months, years. And that's when you find yourself in situations where you're looking back at goals that you've had and you've yet to accomplish them because you're waiting to make a decision. And that leads to that stalling causes you to miss opportunity. People are moving on without you. And you're like, but wait, right? And everybody else is like, I can't wait. I gotta get moving. And meanwhile, you're still waiting for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity. You're waiting for the moment you're ready. And you're missing opportunities. Time is passing you by. And you end up just being stuck in the same position that you've been in. So I'm gonna teach you the confident decision framework. This is a framework I created that gives you like just three key shifts that will help you shift from that lack of trust in yourself, lack of belief in yourself to make a good decision, make a decision that's best for you in the moment, to actually believing that you can. So the first one is in this framework is recognizing that confidence comes after a decision is made, not before. This is why. I talked about this before. Confidence is all in action. People are not born with confidence. Confidence is not a characteristic trait. If you ever look at a list of characteristic traits, you will never see confident on there because it's not a characteristic trait. It's not something it's not this innate ability. It's not something that someone's born with, right? When you see someone who's confident, they're confident because they take risk. They're confident because they take action. Because this is what happens when you take action, especially with something you're not familiar with, right? Let's think about. Let me rewind. Let me take a step back. The things that you are confident in. Let's think about why you're confident in those things in the first place. The places where you are very comfortable and you feel secure in. Let's talk about why that exists, right? It's because you've been taking action in that area enough where you know you can handle whatever the outcome is. You know you have the skill set, the knowledge to be able to handle those things, right? But that only happened because you took action in that area and you began to get you built your strength and your skill sets began to increase and improve. And that also caused your confidence to increase and improve. And so you have to take action. When you hesitate and stall and don't take a step at all, I tell my clients this all the time. What that leads to you saying to yourself, directly or indirectly, is that you can't handle that. You can't make a decision because if you make the wrong decision, you got to face X and you're not going to be able to face that. It's going to be too much. It's going to be too overwhelming. It's going to be costly. Whatever that narrative you're telling yourself, I cannot handle that. I will not be able to handle it. It's going to be too much to face. That is self-doubt. But when you actually take action and face a thing that you've been so nervous about, 99% of the time you realize, oh, one, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And or if it was, oh, I actually was able to handle it. Like I thought I was going to fall apart, or I thought I wasn't going to be able to bounce back or find alternate solutions, or I thought things were going to be over, but actually I handled it. I'm actually, and then you find out more things about yourself. You learn more things about your strengths and your skill sets, your characteristic traits, which then builds confidence within yourself. So you have to take action first. That's the first thing to think about. Second thing to think about within this confident decision framework is your values have to weigh more and be more influenced when it comes to your decision making than your feelings. Another way to think about this is your decisions need to be driven by your values and not by your emotions. When your emotions are driving your decision making, that is called an emotional driven response. You're making your decisions solely based on how you're feeling right now in the moment. And the reason why this is really tricky is that your emotions do not last forever. They are short lived. And once the emotion is over and you're calm, you're cool, collective, That decision you make doesn't go away. That decision has long-term effects. As an emotion has short-term effect. You feel it in the moment, it's usually gone, especially gone once you remove yourself from the environment that activated that emotion. It's gone as time passed. Time can be 5 minutes, time can be an hour, time can be a couple of days, but the emotion eventually leaves. You're never in the same emotional state due to a certain situation forever. Your emotions shift. That's why I call it emotional roller coaster. Your emotions go up and down. So when you make a permanent decision or a long-term decision based on a temporary emotion, that's when it gets tricky. That's when you set yourself up for facing outcomes that you don't want to face. Compared to values driven decisions, your decisions are based on what matters most to you. Remember, your values are your belief systems. Your values are connected to your morals. Your values are what influence how you treat other people, how you see the world, how you see yourself, right? Your values are really rooted in like the core foundation of who you are. So when you make decision based on your values, you're now making intentional, meaningful decisions that align with what matters most to you. Can you see the big difference between an emotional driven decision and a values driven decision? And this is why your decisions need to be valued focused. Here's an example of what emotional driven decision. You don't apply for the job because you're afraid that you may not get it, or you're afraid that if I get the job, or you might not apply for the pitch or the proposal or what have you, right? Because you're afraid that you won't be able to meet the expectations of that role, the responsibilities, etc. So you don't apply at all. That decision is solely being driven by your emotions, which is fear of failing, fear of not being enough. Compared to the reason why that job or that proposal caught your eye in the first place, right, was because it really meant something to you. It really aligns with the goals you have for yourself, for your business. It really connects with your mission and your vision, right? And that's what drawing you to it in the first place. And so when you make this, and so when you focus on that instead, you're like, you know what? I don't know if I'm gonna. We're gonna see if I can do it, but I know this is something I really want, so I'm gonna go for it, right? Big difference. You see, there's no stopping. When your values focus, there's no stopping. There's nothing holding you back. Because you're like, oh no, this is what I want. This is what I need. This aligns with where I'm trying to go. Compared to like, oh, I don't know. Can I? Will this be too hard? Will this be too much? Right. Third thing, when it comes to the confidence decision framework, is recognizing and understanding that decisions don't need to be permanent to be powerful. So many times I have to stop clients when they're saying, yeah, I don't know if I should make a decision because then, what if, down the line it doesn't work out? Or what if, down the line, I really don't want to do this. I'm not sure if I want to do this long term. And I have to remind them, you can change your mind. Like, you can decide to, if you're doing it, you make a decision, you're doing it, you realize it's not working. You can say, you know what? I'm going to pause on this and go and pivot and go a different direction. You can do that. And I can't tell you how many clients the light bulb goes off and they're like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Yes, because many times the reason why decisions feel hard is because you're making it permanent. You're not even allowing yourself the option or the permission to change your mind. And especially with my high achieving women, many times you don't give yourself the permission to change your mind because then if I change my mind and I don't follow through on this, then that means I have failed. When you grow up, when you're a kid and you want to play a sport and your parents are like, well, if you want to play, you want to play the whole entire season. You can't quit in the middle of the year. We're not quitters. This family is not quitters. Right. And then next thing you know, you end up saying the same narrative to yourself. Well, if you make a decision, you got to follow all the way through. You can't quit because if you change your mind, then you're a quitter and quitting is failing. No, that's not. Changing your mind is not quitting. Changing your mind is recognizing this no longer aligns with what I was thinking. Or it turns out this never aligned with aligns with what I am envisioning for myself. This doesn't align with the goals that I have. And that is okay. And so it's more powerful to just make a decision than not making a decision at all. And it's even more powerful recognizing if you need to change your mind, giving yourself the permission to change your mind and say, you know what, after all, this is not going to work out. Whether it's with a client, whether it's with a job, right? Whatever that is, whether it's an employee, you can change your mind if it no longer aligns. And it's thinking it's also right. Like I want you, another way to think about this is that you are allowed to make right now decisions. Meaning, right now this is working for me. Right now this aligns. But if at any point, or if I can recognize in like 6 months to a year, it's probably no longer it may no longer align, and that's okay. When we get to that point, if I need to change it and stop doing this or go a different direction, I will do that. But right now, it's going to work for right now. Here's another example. How many of you was dating somebody for right now? Like right now, this person is cool. Do I see myself marrying this person? No, not really. But right now, we kicking it. We having a good time. This person is good. We have fun, great conversation. Right now, this is working. Will it be long term? Probably not. But right now, it's working for right now. If you could do that with a relationship, why can't you do that with your own business or with your own professional life? Here's some examples when it comes to decision, the confidence decision framework, right? Is really thinking about when it comes to launching an offer, recognizing that I think a good one with this one is like making sure, like, like you're like, oh, is this the best offer? Am I offering the right amount? Is this something that will work? Will people buy into this? Are people going to want to buy this? Right? Well, you won't know until you do it, right? You won't feel confident in the launch until you launch it, right? So that goes to the first part of the framework. Confidence happens after you do it. So don't wait to launch until you feel confident in it. No, launch it. And the feedback you get, the more you talk about it, the more you become more familiar with what the messaging behind it. That's where the confidence comes. Another example, setting a boundary. This goes with the feelings driven versus values driven versus emotional driven, right? Sometimes you gotta set the boundaries like, oh, this is not gonna work for me because it doesn't align with my boundaries. I mean, with my values. And you might have to say no. Or you can say, I can do this, but this has to be included. Or I can do this and I'll be able to do it in this way. So that whatever decision you're making aligns with your values. And an example for the decisions don't need to be permanent to be powerful, saying yes or no to an opportunity. This goes back to what I was saying, right? You can say yes to an opportunity, then stand 10 toes down at decision. And then once you're in it, right? And you're experiencing the opportunity, you realize actually this is not what I expected. Or this is not what they said it was going to be, right? This is not what we agreed on. And it's okay to say, you know what, this is actually not going to work out for me. You don't have to sit in it, you have to stay in it. You can then say no. So here's a little exercise. This is what I challenge you to do. I challenge you to identify one decision you've been avoiding. What is a decision you've been sitting on? What is a decision that you know you need to make? You've been procrastinating, you've been hesitant, you've been putting it to the side, right? What is that decision? And you know what it is. That's why you're here. You're probably here for that for that decision. You're probably watching this specifically for that decision that needs to be made because you're trying to find a way to be confident and making that hard decision you know you need to make, right? Now, when you're thinking about the decision, I challenge you to think about what value should lead the choice. I even want to go a little further with you on this. I challenge you to think about what are the issues or the different contemplations you've been having about even making this decision. And I challenge you to see if that feedback you're giving yourself about making a decision is being driven by your emotions and what emotion is driving that. And then I challenge you to shift from focusing on the emotion in the moment and the emotion you feel about making this decision to focusing on the value of why making this decision is important, why whatever choice you know you need to make is important to you, aligns with the goals you have for your life, aligns with your authentic self, aligns with the vision and mission you have for yourself and your life and your business. Now, this process, when it comes to making decisions confidently, is what helps close the identity and execution gap. And so, if you want more practical strategies like this to really close this gap where you want to like shift how you see yourself to seeing yourself as the version you need to be to make those confident decisions so you can execute, then you need to register for the identity to execution intensive. It's happening on February the 2nd or February the 23rd at 7 p.m. I'm going to put the information on it on the board. You can visit speakliketransformation.com/intensive. And we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff that I'm talking about in Fire Fridays. We're going to spend 2 hours going in depth with it. And I will not just be speaking to you. We're going to be actually doing work. It comes with your registration comes with handouts. It's going to help you practice the skills. And if you get the VIP, then you'll also get a workbook that's going to give you exercises to really convert your vision into actionable steps so you actually execute. I'm going to be having a hot seat session where you can volunteer to present your situation and I can talk you through it and coach you live during the session to actually work through the different things that maybe cause you to hesitate and procrastinate, the different mindset blocks that's causing this gap to be as large so you can decrease the gap so your identity is equal to what you need to be to really execute the way you need to execute. So this is not something you want to miss. Trust me, this is not something you want to miss. If there's any time you need to invest in yourself, this is time to invest. It's only February. The year is still at the top of the year. We are at the top of the year. So you still have tons of time to do the work internally that you need to do so you can be able to execute every single goal that you have for this year. So it's not June and you're looking back like, I haven't touched anything. I haven't reached not one goal. Or it's December and you're like, oh, I barely got through most of my goals. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. So this is a great way to start the process of doing whatever internal work, shifting whatever internal mindsets that are blocking you from really executing with confidence and consistently. So yeah, again, and the Identity Execution Intensive. It's happening on the 23rd. That's a Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is virtually. You can click the link in the description to register. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see you there. Comment below your thoughts about today's discussion. Like, share this video, subscribe to the Speak Like Transformation TV YouTube channel, hit the notification buttons as well so you can always be notified when I drop a video or when I go live. And I will see you next week.